So I was making toast this morning, and then I spent the next 6 hours learning why the word breakfast exists, and it led me somewhere I genuinely did not expect. Last time we talked about how ancient floods became myths, stories passed down for thousands of years until nobody remembered they were real. But here's the thing I couldn't stop thinking about afterward. Those catastrophes didn't just create stories, they created rules. When something terrible happens, humans don't just remember it, they change their behavior. They say, do this and never do that. And those rules, those tiny behavioral changes, survive even longer than the myths do. Because myths eventually sound like fiction. But rules? Rules just sound like manners, like politeness, like that's just what you do. And today, I want to show you 5 rules you follow literally every single day that started as survival tactics. And by the end of this video, you're going to look at your morning routine very differently. Okay, rule number 1, breakfast. The word breakfast means meh, and I know this sounds obvious once you hear it, pressed to break your fast. That's it, break fast. You're breaking a period of not eating. But here's the part that's not obvious at all. The reason it's called that is because for most of European history, eating in the morning was considered a sin. During the Middle Ages, the Catholic Church had enormous influence over daily life. And the Church's position was that the proper way to live was to eat 2 meals a day. One around noon, one in the evening. Eating before that, first thing in the morning, that was seen as a sign of weakness, gluttony. If you ate in the morning, it meant you couldn't wait until noon, and that meant you lacked discipline. The word in Old English for a morning meal was morgenmette, literally morning meat, but it wasn't something respectable people talked about. Around the 15th century, the word breakfast started showing up in English texts. And the reason it's phrased as breaking a fast is because that's literally what people were doing. They were breaking the church-mandated overnight fast. The meal existed before the word did, but the word acknowledges the religious framework. You're not just eating in the morning, you're committing an act of transgression against a 500-year-old church rule. Every single morning. And you don't even think about it. And here's the wild part. It took until the Industrial Revolution for breakfast to become truly normalized. Because factory workers needed calories in the morning to survive 14-hour shifts. Before that, in the 1470s, records from the household of the Duchess of York showed that only a select few people in her staff were even granted permission to eat breakfast. It was literally a privilege. Not the meal, the permission to eat it. The economy eventually overrode the religion. Commerce beat the church. By the 1550s, doctors were starting to push back, saying, actually, eating in the morning is fine, maybe even healthy. And then Kellogg's came along in the early 1900s and turned the whole thing into a cereal empire. But for roughly 1,000 years before that, your morning meal was an act of low-key rebellion. And now you're sitting there eating your cereal at 7 a.m. without the faintest idea that your ancestors would have been judged for it. That's honestly kind of hilarious to me. Which brings us to a rule that's even older and way darker. Rule number 2, bless you. Every single person in the English-speaking world says bless you when someone sneezes. Or Gesundheit if you're German. Or salute if you speak Spanish. 97 languages have a sneeze response. 97. And almost nobody knows why. Here's why. The year is 590 AD. Rome. The Justinianic plague, one of the first major outbreaks of bubonic plague in history, has been tearing through Europe for almost 50 years. It's killed somewhere between 25 and 50 million people, half the world's population at the time. Corpses are piled in the streets. The previous pope, Pelagius II, just died from the plague himself. The new pope is Gregory I, Gregory the Great. And Gregory notices something. Sneezing is one of the early symptoms of plague infection. When someone sneezes, it doesn't just mean they're cold, it might mean they're about to die. And in 590 AD, about to die often means already dead. So Gregory issues what is essentially a papal decree. He instructs all Christians to say, God bless you, immediately when they hear someone sneeze. It's a prayer, a plea. You're literally asking God to save this person from the plague. And it spreads through Europe along the same routes as the disease itself. By 750 AD, It's universal across the Christian world. And 1,400 years later, long after anyone remembers the plague that started it, you're still doing it. Every time your coworker sneezes in a meeting, you're performing a 6th century plague prayer. You just don't know it. And there's another layer too. Some cultures believe that when you sneeze, your soul briefly leaves your body, and evil spirits can rush in during that gap. Bless you is a spiritual shield. Either way, the sneeze was the moment of maximum vulnerability. The blessing was the fix. And the rule survived long after the reason was forgotten. Now, that's 2 rules. Both started by institutional religious authority, the church telling you when to eat and what to say when someone might be dying. But the next one goes back even further. And this one started not with religion, but with violence. Rule number 3, the handshake. You do this probably 10, 15, 20 times a week. You don't think about it. You just extend your right hand, someone grabs it, you both shake. Done. But this gesture is at least 2,500 years old, and it exists because people used to kill each other. A lot. The earliest evidence of handshakes comes from 5th century BCE Greece, around the time of Homer and Herodotus. The Greeks called it dexiosis, from dexios, meaning right. You can literally see it carved into ancient Greek funeral stones, 2 people clasping right hands as a final farewell. And the reason you extend your right hand is because that's your weapon hand. Most people are right-handed. Most warriors held their swords in their right hand. So when you extend your open, empty right hand to a stranger, you're saying one very specific thing. I am not holding a weapon. I am choosing not to kill you right now. That's it. That's the handshake. It's a weapons check. And it got even more intense later. The Roman version wasn't just a palm grab, it was a forearm grab. They'd grip each other's forearms and squeeze, because that way you could feel if the other person had a dagger hidden up their sleeve. And the shaking motion? Some historians believe medieval knights added that. They would shake the other person's hand and arm to literally dislodge any concealed blades. Like, let me just shake you a little bit to make sure nothing falls out. Insane. So every time you shake hands with someone at a job interview, or after closing a deal, or meeting your girlfriend's parents, you're performing a 2,500-year-old weapon check. You're saying, I come in peace, in a language that predates English by 2 millennia. And the truly wild thing is that it still works. Studies show that people who shake hands are perceived as more trustworthy, more cooperative, and more honest. The ancient instinct still fires. Your brain still reads an extended open palm as safe. 2,500 years later. And here's a detail I found that honestly surprised me. The Quakers in the 17th century were the ones who turned the handshake into an everyday greeting. Before that, it was mostly reserved for formal occasions, treaties, oaths, welcoming a king. But the Quakers rejected bowing and hat tipping because those gestures created hierarchy. One person's lower, one person's higher. The Quakers wanted equality. So they adopted the handshake, a gesture where both people are literally on the same level, doing the same thing at the same time. An ancient weapons check became a statement about human equality. And then it became the way you greet your dentist. Now, mid-video check-in. If you're still here, you're clearly my kind of person. Hit subscribe. I'm putting out videos like this 3 times a week, and about 80% of you watching right now aren't subscribed. Fix that. Takes 1 second. Okay. Let's keep going. Rule number 4, clinking glasses. You're at dinner with friends. Someone raises a glass. Everyone goes cheers and clinks their glasses together. It's festive. It's fun. It's also, potentially, a medieval poison detection system. Now, I want to be upfront here because I went deep on this one and the history is messy. There's debate. Some historians say the clinking is definitely about poison. Others say it's more about engaging the 5th sense. When you drink wine, you see it, smell it, taste it, feel the glass, but you don't hear anything. The clink adds sound, completing the sensory experience. And some say it mimicked church bells, which were believed to drive away evil spirits that lurked in alcohol. Honestly, all 3 theories are pretty good, but the poison theory is the one that stuck with me. During the Middle Ages, poisoning was extremely common among European nobility. The Borgia family in Italy were famous for using arsenic-laced wine to kill political rivals. and the sediment in medieval unfiltered wine made it absurdly easy to hide poison. You couldn't see it, couldn't taste it, couldn't smell it. So the practice developed. When a host poured wine for guests, the host would drink first, proving it was safe. And if the guest trusted the host, instead of demanding a taste test, they'd clink their glass against the host's. The force of the clink was supposed to splash liquid from one glass to the other. If your wine is poisoned, now mine is too. Mutual destruction. The medieval version of, if I go down, you go down with me. Now, Snopes rates the poison origin as unproven, and I respect that. But the core fact is real. In medieval France, people did clink glasses and then swap them. The trust ritual existed. And whether it was about poison, evil spirits, or the fifth sense, the result is the same. 800 years later, you still clink glasses every time you say cheers at a bar. An ancient trust protocol became a party trick. And the reason nobody questions it is because it feels right. It feels social. It feels human. Because it is human. It's just much older than you think. And by the way, the word toast itself, also medieval. Shakespeare literally wrote a scene in The Merry Wives of Windsor where the character Falstaff asks for a quart of sack, put a toast in it. He's asking for wine with a piece of actual spiced bread floating in it. People put toast in their wine to improve the flavor, because medieval wine was apparently terrible. By the 18th century, the bread was gone, but the word stuck. The toast moved from the wine to the person being honored. So when you raise a glass and make a toast at a wedding, you're referencing a 500-year-old bread and wine situation. The layers on this stuff are wild. And that brings us to the last rule. And honestly, this might be my favorite one. Rule number 5, wedding veils. You know how in traditional Western weddings the bride wears a veil, and the groom isn't supposed to see the bride before the ceremony? Everybody thinks it's romantic. Don't look, it's bad luck. It's sweet, it's tradition. It's an arranged marriage escape prevention system. In many ancient and medieval cultures, marriages weren't about love. They were business transactions, alliances between families, transfers of wealth, political deals. The bride's family wanted the deal to go through. The groom's family wanted the deal to go through. The absolute last thing anyone wanted was for the groom to see the bride before the ceremony and say, "Actually, no thanks." So the bride wore a veil. The groom didn't see her face until after they were married, after the vows were spoken, after the deal was sealed. The veil wasn't decoration, it was a contract enforcement mechanism. It prevented the groom from backing out based on the bride's appearance, and the bad luck superstition, that was added later to make sure nobody questioned why the veil existed. You don't want 7 years of bad luck, do you? Then don't peek. In ancient Rome, the wedding veil, called the flammeum, was bright orange or yellow and covered the bride's face completely. Not for beauty, for concealment. The marriage was too important to risk on personal preference. And this wasn't just Rome. In parts of medieval Europe, in South Asia, in the Middle East, veils served the same function across completely unrelated cultures. Different religions, different continents, same logic. Don't let the groom see until the deal is sealed. And now it's tradition. It's romantic. It's on every wedding Pinterest board in existence. But underneath the lace and the tulle, there's a 2,000-year-old business decision designed to prevent a man from running away. I could not believe this when I first read about it. Okay, so let's zoom out and look at what we just covered. 5 rules. 5 daily habits that most people in the Western world follow without thinking. Breakfast, a transgression against medieval church fasting law, normalized only because factory workers needed morning calories. Bless you, a 6th century plague prayer issued by a pope who watched his predecessor die from the disease. Handshakes, a 2,500-year-old weapon check from ancient Greece, upgraded by Roman forearm grabs and medieval shaking to dislodge hidden blades. Clinking glasses, a medieval trust ritual from an era when the Borgias put arsenic in the wine. Wedding veils, an arranged marriage escape prevention system designed to stop grooms from backing out. And the pattern is the same across all 5. Every single one of these rules started as a response to a specific, real danger. Starvation, plague, violence, poison, economic collapse of a family alliance. These weren't arbitrary. They were survival mechanisms. But the danger passed. The plague ended, the Borgias died out, arranged marriages became rare, and the rules stayed. They just shape-shifted. Danger became etiquette, survival became manners. And now you follow them every day, performing rituals designed for a world that doesn't exist anymore. Sound familiar? It should, because that's exactly what we talked about in the brain glitches video. Ancient software running on modern hardware. Your brain still jolts you awake because it thinks you're falling out of a tree, and your social behavior still follows plague protocols and weapon checks because the rules were never updated. The connection runs through this entire series: brain glitches, flood myths, and now daily rules. All artifacts of an older world, still running in the background of a new one. The modern world is made of ancient decisions, and you're living inside them right now. And here's what I keep thinking about. Some of those ancient rules weren't just protecting people from social dangers. Some of them were protecting people from something much bigger, something we're still discovering today, something in space that shouldn't exist. That's Saturday's video. Space anomalies that keep getting worse the more we study them. If you thought plague prayers and poison checks were wild, wait until you see what scientists are finding above our heads right now. Subscribe. Drop a comment telling me which rule surprised you the most. For me, it was the wedding veil. Had no idea. I'll see you guys Saturday.